Hi everyone. So today we're going to learn about something called flash fiction. Some of you have read some flash fiction with me before, but we're going to take a closer look at it because you guys are going to take a turn doing your own flash fiction when we finish this. So pay close attention. Here's our first story. Check it out. Sale. Baby shoes. Never worn. Think about it. Look at the picture. Look at the words. What's been written. So to think about it, what does a story need in order to actually be a story? What questions does a story leave you with? What do you think is happening beneath the surface of those 6 words? Is the amount of what's left unsaid unsettling, interesting, annoying? Do you think it's harder to write a short story like this one or a longer work like a novel? So let's go back to the beginning. What does a story need in order to be a story? Well, what do you think? I'm thinking something like a storyline. Something has to happen in order for it to be a story. Did something happen? I think something did happen in this story. It just didn't tell us. It left it for us to infer. So what questions does the story leave you with? Well, why are the shoes unworn? Why are they selling baby shoes? What happened to the baby? Why didn't the baby wear them? A lot of questions that we have here. So what do you think is happening beneath the surface? We have to imagine. This is sort of like The Lady and the Tiger, if you read that, right? Where they leave the ending and it's very ambiguous, meaning they don't tell you exactly what happened. You have to kind of figure it out for yourself. You have to think about it. So is this unsettling, interesting, or annoying to you? For me, it's a little unsettling because I'm thinking, what happened to the baby, right? I mean, did the baby pass away? Is that why they're selling them? Did somebody give them these shoes and they hate that person and so they never let their baby wear the shoes? Did the baby not like those shoes and refuse to wear them? Did they decide that they were going to be sort of hippie-like and they weren't going to put shoes on their baby? What's the reason for it? You have to decide what you think it is. So is it harder to write a story like this or a longer work? What are your thoughts on that? So what is flash fiction? I told you that's what we're going to be learning about today. So flash fiction is defined as being a story under 1,000 words. It goes by the name of shorts, miniatures, sudden fiction, postcard fiction, among many other names. Flash communicates with little pieces, little crevices. There's no asking more, no premise of comprehensiveness because flash fiction is a form that privileges excision over agglomeration, which is like a collection of a lot of things. It adheres more than any other narrative form to Hemingway's famous iceberg dictum, meaning only shows the top 10% of the story and the rest is down below. You have to figure it out for yourself. The flash fiction gives us the top part of the iceberg and leaves the rest for us to figure out. It provides a good way for you to really think about a story. Think about what could possibly be happening here. This is that inferencing and analysis that we're trying to really get you to dig deeper with during this 10th grade year and forevermore. So here's another example. This is called The Margin by Curtis Sittenfeld. In 1987, when Jenny Thicker and I were in 6th grade, our goals were to have a double wedding, at which we married the McMasterson twins, trick my sister into drinking a glass of tea, and to sneak in the middle of the night to Boland Square and put a bra on the Grecian woman statue on the top of the fountain. Weirdly enough, I did marry Andy McMasterson, but I lost touch with Jenny years ago. Whenever I drive by the Boland Square statue, the bronze bosom still hangs there for everyone to see. This is flash fiction. We got the top of the iceberg. We didn't get the piece down below. This is a story about Jenny Thicker and the narrator, right? We know that they were very close when they were younger. We know that they were tricksters, so we can make a lot of indirect characterization about them because they wanted to trick their sister into drinking a glass of tea, right? They're adventurous, daring, because we know that they wanted to sneak out in the middle of the night and put a bra on a bronze statue that everybody could see their boob. We know that part of her plan actually did work out. And we know that something happened between her and Jenny where they sort of lost touch with one another. However, she still thinks about her and all of their goals together every time she sees a statue. So she's never actually left her hometown. Maybe Jenny Thicker did. There's a lot to the story that we don't know, right? This is an example of flash fiction. Here's another one called the femur. So now the femur is the biggest bone in your body. I think it's in your leg. It can withstand a lot of pressure. So think about why maybe he named this story the femur. Here's the story. On my 21st birthday, my father revealed 2 facts about himself. He was colorblind, and that before I was born, he served 4 years for armed robbery. I suspect the colorblind disclosure was a test of my maturity, and if I'm right, I must have barely passed. After he told me, I became petulant and said, I just think it's really weird that you hid that from me for my whole life. So why did his father wait 21 years to tell him this? What about the colorblind part? Why did he keep that a secret all those years? Armed robbery? Why did he rob somebody? Was he desperate for money, or did he just like the thrill? What about the narrator's reaction to this? He became petulant. Look up the word petulant. What does it mean? And he said, I just think it's really weird you hid that from me for my whole life. You didn't ask all the questions that I just asked, right? Like, why did you keep that a secret? Why didn't you tell me that you were colorblind? Maybe I get why you didn't tell me you were in jail for armed robbery, but why did you keep the other part secret from me for all those years? There's a lot of questions that it raises. I want you to think about these 2 stories, and you have some questions. These are some things that I just mentioned to you. What questions does the story leave you with? What's happening beneath the surface? I think the iceberg, right? We know what's happening on the top because he told it to us, but what's all this stuff down below? What's going on? What's left unsaid? Is it unsettling, interesting, annoying? I want you to think about these questions. I want you to answer them based on one of the stories, either the femur or the margins. So here are some even shorter works. There are 2 more short stories highlighted in a New Yorker review of a book called Hint Fiction, an anthology of stories in 25 words or fewer. So the first story is called Germain's Postscript to his 7th grade poem assignment. This is by Christopher Molnar. Here's the whole story. Miss Tyler, the girl part was about Chantel. Please don't tell anyone. The second story is Houston, We Have a Problem by J. Matthew Zoss. Here's the story. I'm sorry, there's not enough air in here for everyone. I'll tell them that you were a hero. Think about these 2 stories. Pick one that you like best and answer the following questions regarding that story. What do you know about the plot, the characters, the setting, the theme of the story? What questions does it raise? What is unwritten? Were there any literary devices there? No. What individual words or phrases jump out? There must be something in each one of those. There's a word or a phrase that jumps out. Denotations or connotations are important to note about individual words. Remember, denotation is a dictionary definition. Connotation is the feeling associated with a word. How complete are those stories? Are they good? Good enough? Not good enough? Why? What do you think? You're answering these 6 questions about either one of the previous stories. Just a little follow-up for us to kind of talk about. In general, do you think these stories work? Personally, I think they do. I think they're kind of cool because it makes me think. Next question is like, how do you read them differently from the way you read a longer work? Well, I read it quickly, and I soak it in, then I have to think about it because they left so much out, and I get to make that part up. And that's the fun in reading a story like this, is that you get to pick what happened. Sort of like there used to be these books when I was little, and you get to a certain page, and it would say, turn to page 25 if you want blah, blah, blah to happen. Turn to page 32 if you like blah, blah, blah. So if the characters make different choices, you got to pick. You got to flip to that page, and the story was different depending on where you flipped. And sort of like this, except they don't give you the choices. You get to make it up yourself. So what do they give you that a longer work doesn't? Do you like it? So on this next question, I just kind of want you to tell me, what's your opinion on these? What do you think? How do you read them differently? And do you think you think these stories work? There's also a link here for some more examples of flash fiction if you want to check them out. Finally, this is your mission. The whole reason we've been talking about flash fiction today is because you are going to write a flash fiction story. You've already seen that a flash fiction story can be just a few words. It can be many words. It can contain an illustration. It doesn't have to. It can be dialogue. It can just be something very short. Either way, it has to be less than, what did it say, 1,000 words? I'm going to say less than 100. I want it to be short, okay? So you're going to write a flash fiction short story that relates to the murderer. You can write it from any point of view that you want. You can think about Mr. Brock, he was the patient, the psychiatrist, other prisoners who were in the jail with Mr. Brock, people on the bus that witnessed what he did, maybe Mrs. Brock, who also witnessed what he did in their home. No more than 100 words. Once you finish writing your flash fiction story that relates back to the murderer, you're going to copy it and paste it into the dot storming link that is located on Schoology. Once you put it on dot storming, we are going to go in and vote together. So don't vote yet. Wait until we're all together, and I'll tell everybody how to go on, and we're going to vote. But you're going to post your story on the dot storming link. Okay? Have fun with this. Enjoy it. Check out those other flash fiction short stories if you need to. Go back into this video and look at it again if you need to get some more ideas.